So you're seeing an invader character here. I was actually recording some footage for my upcoming Red Orb Menace episode when I decided I needed heavy gems for a few of my new weapons I'm trying out. So I started farming the sluggos in the swamp, and while doing that I got quite a few blue summons. Now this video is gonna go over a few of them, and it's not a spiteful video despite the title. I don't want to give that impression, but I think we all know that the life of a blue is a pretty thankless thing. Case in point, my spawn right next to the rats. Now I'm in a host's Gertie's Gertie's world, and there's a pretty competent ally spirit as well. So after dealing with the rats, I'm ready to join the group. The invader in this particular session, his name is Bob Ross. He's a gold invader, and this is a long one, so I'm going to speed up some of the clips here. Now, after the first few seconds of spawning, you usually want to find your host or find the invader, whichever comes first. When you come in and the invader is fighting the host or the host's party, it's like having a clock on you. You got to get there soon enough so that your presence doesn't go in vain. But you don't want to soak up damage and make, poor aggro choices while you do so. So sometimes you got to be quick but careful. Now the golds were in the obscuring ring. I moved to block them off in the hallway, but wisely they go for the hall over here where the wheel skeletons are. And we don't see him for a long time now. Now this is a situation where I've barely had time to really assess my my allies. Turns out they're pretty competent. Now, I'm assuming they've beaten the game before, or at least gone through this area as different characters, because they seem to know where all the items are. Or I can see by the way the host is playing that they're not unaccustomed to the map. This isn't a password situation. I don't know if these two players are working together, but not seeing the password symbol, it's entirely possible that Alonia is just a really good player in general. Now, if you've noticed, another blue is just showing up, Khan. We never get to see Khan. Wherever Khan is in trouble. He's isolated. He basically dies or respawns. So he's out of the game before he can be part of the game. This happens too. Sometimes blues come in that just aren't ready, or they spawn into an impossible situation, and whatever progress these guys have put upon our invader has just been scaled back a bit, because somewhere he got two free Estus. And because I don't know the extent of their tally and their previous skirmish, I have to assume that those two Estus went a long way. Having said that, he still does not appear. Now I break off a little bit to deal with this guy. I don't want that wheel rolling around. I'm sorry, ball. I don't want the ball rolling around, rather, while we're still wandering about with this guy potentially in the shadows. So once the roly-boly wall's out of the way, I see that the host has triggered the Sorig spawn. Now I'm not jumping in there just yet. It's entirely possible that the invader is nearby. You always have to be assumptive that danger is just out of viewable distance. If I was an invader, this would be a great opportunity to come on in and wreck face while everyone's distracted with the NPC. But after I'm satisfied that that's not the case, I commit my my hammer poise to the Surig fight, since these guys are just not cutting it. Now, this is a situation where I'm not really sure about the decorations. I always assume the invaders are smarter than the average Joe, and I always think about what I would do. So I would probably be setting up an ambush. I kind of eat a glob to the face right here. Now this is frustrating for the time lapse, because you have to really wait for that animation to play out. And if you're a smart invader and you're in the area a lot, you recognize what that damage bar looks like when you got a player that's got the goop on them. But again, I've never reciprocated for my blunder. And I know if you've been in this area yourself, you probably already came to the same conclusion, the correct conclusion, and that conclusion is that Bob Ross, the Gold Invader, is by the bridge, because why wouldn't he be? It's the go-to choke point. Everyone who invades will always remember that bridge. There are players that will exclusively run to this bridge at the first sign of a spawn, no matter what the circumstances, and camp it out. Now the bridge is a lucky spawn. If you get to the bridge before the questing party, that's always good. It gives you a good opportunity to stage an ambush, so that makes sense. I bring out the big whammer because I'm afraid the team will trigger the skeleton horde, but again, these guys are pretty competent, so they don't do that. And I bust out the cat ring because I'm anticipating a correctly, I might add, what's about to happen at the ladder here. Now, what happens next is when the summon changes from a victory to a drawn-out failure, and it begins here. I hop down for a plunge. I try to switch the knives really quick, but I bust out the charms by mistake. Now the Phantom went down the ladder as a way to cut off the red and went for the oldest trick in the book, but I guess the gold forgot about me for a second. And while we're doing this, just remember this timestamp. Blue Spirit Rogue has showed up. We're about 6 minutes into the invasion here, and Rogue just got here. Now the host and his buddy could have gone for that gate. The invader ran off, so they had full license to complete the level. I want this to be noted, because at this point, it's no longer about getting the host to the boss gate. It's about committing to hunting down the gold, which I know is a mistake. I know what type of player this is. Bob Ross is going to draw this out for as long as he can. He has a whole other level in which to run the gauntlet, and everything he's shown up to this point proves that that's his only real tactic. Get everyone to follow him, run through the gauntlet, fight every enemy, go through wherever he has. That's all he has to continue to do until we've been depleted enough that we're easy pickings. Now I made a tactical choice back there to abandon the host. I know the other blue sentinel's there. I trust the other blue sentinel because he's another blue sentinel. That's my mistake. I'm afraid that Alioni, I can never say the name right. Ally Phantom. I'm afraid the Ally Phantom is going to get isolated with the invader, but when I get out here I see that, nope, he's just going to stand out there and wait for us to follow him. And this is it. This is the end of Bob Ross. I'm not following him anymore. I've decided to go back. There's going to be some straggler skeletons in the cave here, which are reforming upon my return. I take the time to beat them to a pulp, not because I'm trying to draw the invader back. I know he's not going to come back, but I don't know what the next stage of this summon's going to be, so if we do head this way, I want these guys out of the way. But when I head back, everything falls apart. The demon is still alive. I have 3 players fighting it, or I think 3 players, and I see why in a minute here. The demon goes for an AoE, Gertie gets caught in it, and that's it. It's over. And if you review the footage, this hapless blue rogue is chilling out by the stairs, letting the host fight this demon, presumably not doing enough damage on his own, while me and the other player were dealing with the invader. So, good job, Rogue. Thank you. Invasion number 2. My host name is Dry. My ally, Blue, is M. And the invader's name is Ezra Scarlet. Now, I'm unfamiliar with the name. I don't know from which anime, movie, or book series that name is from, or if it's a unique name. But this invader's a little bit more skillful than Bob Ross. This player is willing to actually engage us at the checkpoints instead of running to the new checkpoint whenever we catch up. Now I did hit him with a javelin there, but I'm being a little bit cavalier. The first few moments of every summon situation is very similar to the first few moments of every invasion. You take an assessment of the players you're contending with. Now, this red is timing everything pretty well. I'm getting tagged. There's a little bit of latency there, so the skip trips me up a little bit. But they're playing smart. They're using powerful lightning urns. They're soaking up damage against the team. This is what Saint Riot talks about when he says, always be doing something. You always want to be doing something. And this invader is doing a good job of it. Which is why what happens next is so disappointing. Now I quickly switch out my gear. I decide to go pickaxe and bow again with my obscuring ring. Because I know that the red is willing to stay at mid-range while we clear out enemy by enemy. And I figure if I can get some distant bow shots in, that might be discouragement enough to allow us to progress, since that's the kind of game it's going to be. The host has the same idea. With the obscuring ring, it's difficult. That other blue is taking the brunt of it by trying to draw out the attacks. And while I'm not exactly hitting the invader effectively, I am tapping the Skelly Man enough so that some progress is being made. Now, it's a slow move here. This one doesn't go on for as long as the other invasion because once we clear this hallway, Ezra Scarlet seems to lose interest in keeping this game going. Now, I don't know if it's because I came into this one late and the Estus depletion is taking its toll. For all I know, this is the last one that Ezra has. Because what happens is, we get the host to the bonfire here, and me and M take the opportunity to make a last press on the invader. And while the invader has a pretty good ambush setup with an Ultra, my belayed entry down the staircase allows me to separate us, and the red has had enough. They Black Crystal. And that's it. Now, this one goes somewhat similarly, despite the fact that it's a different area. Spoiler alert. Host name is K. K has a password summon. The invader has a big whammer. In fact, the Vort's hammer. And as I come in, I see that they are okay with using the pocket poise that comes with that weapon, which is dangerous. That weapon is gnarly. Even if they miss the swings, the latency with the proc is devastating. And it's possible you can get cadavered pretty easily just being near where the swings go. And I know because I've lost a lot of characters to deaths from players using that thing. So I go for a charge up pickaxe swing here, and somehow that's not enough damage to seal the deal. I guess I should be a little bit more vigilant with my bundles. This character has bundles, but for the life of me, I have a habit of not using them when I should. And it's a frustrating example of having the means to end something quickly, but not taking the opportunity to apply a little buff that might make the whole endeavor reach its conclusion. Now, we get into a situation here where I think the questing party might progress past the bonfire, and I'm not quite sure what the point that was about. But these guys do what a lot of questing parties do, and they see me follow the red, because I'm okay with fighting this red one-on-one. I trust myself against that Vort's hammer enough to know that I could probably handle it. These guys either take it as a invitation to join me, and we get into a situation here where this red has brought a Pontiff Knight into the fray. Now the red makes one last play here to jump into the party with his hammer, but I'm focused on the red. I trust the team to attack the Pontiff Knight, and then we trade places a little bit, and I go for the Pontiff Knight. I didn't mean to kick right there. And what we have here is another situation where the red doesn't want to play this game. And I've been noticing this happening more and more, where the reds are just unwilling to commit to a group fight, and they'll use the black crystal. Now, he has the sanctuary of the enemies, but I guess that's not enough, so that's another black crystal in the books. This last clip was was actually the one I got most mad at. Not because of a loss or any kind of black crystal situation. I found this invader a little bit taxing. Now, stupidly, I allowed myself to get rickrolled by the ball of death, and quite correctly, this red gets properly aggressive out of the starting gate. And we have a little bit of a fight here. However, I realized quickly all the skelly men are very much animated. And wherever my host Scaly D is, he's not in here. So I have to contend with this invader at the same time as contending with all the skeletons. Now they're content to do the R1s. Their damage isn't exactly as optimized as I was expecting, because I managed to tank a lot of hits there without really feeling the pressure. And this player goes for a lot of thrust attacks and the whole standstill thing. But I'm not keen on rushing into every volley they're throwing. So I'm trying to take my time a little bit. I know the skeletons are coming. I'm trying to keep an appraisal of which enemies are closer. Now pay attention to this. He's already gone for one parry. I see this one coming. I know that he can't parry my pickaxe. He doesn't know it. And I do some nice damage. Now, at this point, I know I'm winning all the trades. I'm not too worried about this invader on a one-on-one. It's just a game of whether I can get to them and deal with all the skeletons. At this point, the host isn't even part of the battle. I don't know where the host is. The host is out of sight, out of mind. My target is around the corner, and at this point, the invader is no longer interested in engaging me. They revert back to this type of stuff. Put enemies between me. Wait for me to attack a skeleton, in which case they can move on in. So I'm trying not to overextend my attacks here. And the pickaxe is a little bit worse for skeleton attacking than some of the other weapons. If I had a regular hammer, this would be a lot easier. But because I know this invader can't handle the pickaxe, I'm okay with taking the damage reduction on the skeletons so I can repel the red. And every time he goes for an attack, if you keep watching, the trade goes in my favor. I take hits, sure, but he walks away, or she walks away with a lot worse damage and a lot more use of the Estus. Now at this point, I'm whittling out the skeletons. I take my time again. I use a buff. They use a bundle. I'm okay with the bundle. Even with the bundle, I'm not too impressed with their damage. They still like those R2s. So I kind of go for a backstab animation. It gets interrupted. And he goes in to punish me for it, but I end up reversing the punishment on him. Now at this point, I have a bit of a reprieve. He doesn't engage me, or she doesn't engage me. And I'm able to dispatch with some of the skeletons. I do have an opportunity for a cheeky gesture. At this point, I'm frustrated a little bit. I know there's a button there. Clearly I know there's a button there. Did he really think it was going to hit me? Anyway, watch what happens now. Scaly D with the surprise attack. I give him another what for gesture, and I throw a undead hunter charm. Now he's skunked. Now he's got two enemies on him, okay? Just desserts if you ask me. I think the general trouble I had with that interaction was just the overall disrespect. The silly tactics with the lone blue. Any invader worth their salt can handle that. I think at the end of the day, this was maybe a little bit much, but I didn't feel bad about it. And I still don't. I don't get to use them too often. Be better, Reds.